staff at government agencies. Again, you get a majority here, 51%. So yeah, Elon Musk might not be that popular, but these cuts and the idea of spending cuts, at least within the federal government and cutting at government agencies, that actually has majority support.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians, and we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle, both the will to deceive. Fear not. You found a place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
Okay, everybody, radio stations across the country, honored to be with you. As always, it's a beautiful day here in the imperial capital of Washington, D.C. Elon Musk has dedicated a lot to saving the republic. I want to go back in time a couple of years. I want to go back in time to the spring of 2022. It was a dark time. Some would call it the dark night of the conservative soul. We were a year removed from January 6th. Many of our friends were being raided and indicted on complete bogus and BS charges by the federal government. Joe Biden seemed to have no concern for bringing the country together. And most concerning of all, the tyrant, the regime, would not allow difference of opinion, stifled all inquiry, What concerned us the most was what started right in January of 2021, was the lockdown of freedom of thought. President Trump was banned from Spotify. Of course, banned famously from Facebook, banned from Instagram, banned from TikTok even. And then, yes, of course, banned from his Twitter account while being a sitting president of the United States. For an entire year, we really could not get our message out. We leaned on great platforms like Rumble and ones like this at Real America's Voice. For an entire year, we were struggling to communicate, to make arguments. Every time we went to Twitter, we would be banned. We'd be censored. In fact, I don't think I was on Twitter for like 9 months. The team can fact check me on that. I think we took like a 9-month hiatus from Twitter because we were banned around the trans stuff. It was a 6-month hiatus from Twitter. They said you have to delete your tweet where you called Levine a man, or even though that we say that he's a woman. We said we're not going to do that. The Mockingbird media reigned supreme. And then out of nowhere, the game changed. You could make the argument that what happened next was a cause set in motion, that without this heroic and courageous action, that President Trump might never have become president. That our movement that now has taken over Washington, D.C., has spread all across the country, and yes, also all across the planet, never would have taken root. And that, of course, is Elon Musk doing something he did not have to do, doing something that quite honestly cost him greatly, paying too much for a platform that was otherwise not as valuable as you might think. And that is when Elon Musk purchased Twitter. He purchased Twitter and the game completely changed. He called their bluff. He paid way too much money for it. Everyone knew it at the time. But that was Elon Musk's signal saying, I might be the world's richest man, but I am not going to stand idly by while Western civilization and the country that I love, the country that I have poured my heart into, is going to be incinerated and taken over from within. Elon Musk was the beginning of us standing up against this woke tumor that infested every major cultural institution. It's very important to remember also how Elon Musk lost his son to this very movement. To him, it is hyper-personal. And he swore a pledge, he swore an oath to destroy the woke mind virus. Elon went to work. And what makes Elon so unique is Elon's wealth is partially made possible by the left. Not all of it, but partially the magnitude of his wealth is only made possible because of climate change fanaticism. Democrats believed that the world was ending because of climate change. Democrats believed that the world was coming to an apocalyptic end. So therefore, we need electric vehicles. Therefore, we need to fight carbon emissions. Therefore, Tesla was the centerpiece to all that. So Elon saw himself benefit tremendously through electric vehicle subsidies. He didn't ask for them, he didn't push for them, but he gladly received them. And so then Elon's net worth went from 20 billion to 50 billion to 100 billion to 200 billion, where Elon Musk's net worth fluctuates now between 350 billion and 450 billion dollars. The Democrats created the wealth that Elon Musk has now been able to use to save the West. And then Elon went in even further. As he started to realize the stakes of the game, he understood that electric vehicles and even going to Mars, all of that pales in comparison to the fight and the struggle for decency and civilization itself. And Elon was never asked to do this. He did not have to do it. Elon Musk could have bought an island and he could have vacationed for the rest of his life. He could have had a super yacht that would make Jeff Bezos look like a little chummy fishing boat. But Elon decided to put all of it on the line and be a man in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt would talk about. Our followers have since tripled on X. We now stream this program on X, and many of you guys are watching it on X. And of course, Elon Musk went all in on the election, spending hundreds of millions of dollars to get President Trump elected. We worked with him and his super PAC in the state of Wisconsin to successfully get President Trump elected in Wisconsin. We worked with Elon and his super PAC in the state of Pennsylvania to help get Dave McCormick to be a United States Senator. Of course, President Trump also winning Pennsylvania. He's a phenomenal patriot. And now, all of this culminating into the left finding their new target. What we have been witnessing the last couple of days is nothing short than an electric vehicle Kristallnacht. This is the left going after a great American patriot, going to Tesla dealerships and engaging in outright domestic terrorism, firebombing Teslas, vandalizing them, committing felony after felony. Now, we have a new sheriff at the FBI, Kash Patel, and I highly encourage Kash Patel to use all of the FBI agents now at your disposal to find all of the domestic terrorists that are committing these political hate crimes. A political hate crime should fall under the guise of what is domestic terrorism. If you bomb a Democrat county headquarters or a Republican county headquarters, that can be classified as domestic terrorism. Not only can someone get hurt, but this is them saying that they want to assassinate Elon Musk, and they have been saying that time and time again. They helped create Elon Musk, and they are so angered at their core that the man that they helped create, the man whose wealth was largely made possible because of their earth worshiping, is now using his time, most importantly, and his treasure to assail the federal bureaucracy, to shrink the size and scope of the federal government, to restore citizen government. We are seeing that the left's core ideology, at the fundamental core, is destruction. These are 2020 tactics, the same way that they went and go burn the Wendy's during Floydapalooza. The tactics they will revive if they can get away with it. We need mass federal arrests for the people that are bombing these Tesla factories and these dealerships, not yet factories. We need to make it public names of who is doing this. This is coordinated. This is centralized. And Tesla owners are now fearful of what is happening. This is an orchestrated hit against a great entrepreneur and American patriot. It reminds me of the firebombing and vandalism of pro-life clinics. It's the same Antifa tactics. However, we control the FBI. So Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, we need arrests. We need perp walks. We need public shows of support for Tesla and Elon Musk. And if you dare lay a finger on one of it, you might go to prison for domestic political terrorism. Only Donald Trump could get the left to hate electric cars. Z-Factor, check it out right now. Z-Factor is amazing. If you guys want to get to sleep, you guys should take a look at it right now. Relief Factor, of course, has the 100% drug-free product for sleep. It's called Z-Factor. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That is 1-800-4RELIEF, or call relieffactor.com. If you are ready for better sleep, give Z-Factor a try. Right now, save 46% on your first order, only $19.95 for a 30-day supply. Sleep better, feel better, and do it with 100% drug-free Z-Factor from relieffactor.com. We'll be right back.
luncheon.
It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. I want to tell you guys about YRefi. YRefi is amazing. Private student loan debt in the United States totals about $300 billion. About $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. YRefi refinances distressed or defaulted private student loans that others will not touch. YRefi does not care what your credit score is. Because of private student loan debt, so many Americans feel stuck and helpless, and they've even lost hope. They don't care what your credit score is and may not be available in all states. YRefi is not a debt settlement company, and they work with each borrower individually, tailoring each loan to each borrower's specific situation. Go to YRefi.com. YRefi refinances distressed and defaulted private student loans, which are different from federal loans. Because of private student loan debt, so many Americans feel stuck and helpless. They have been such good supporters of us at Turning Point USA. They help us with our campus tours. So if any of you have private student loans, if your brother has private student loans, if your son has private student loans, if anyone in your circle, tell them about YRefi. I can vouch for their credibility and their patriotism. Go to YRefi.com. That is YRefi.com. Welcome back, everybody. I believe that is Holiday by Green Day. Am I right? I think that is. I'm drawing from my early 2000s lore. Just a reminder, relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. If you guys want to get to sleep, you guys can get some Z Factor. But why would you want to get to sleep when you listen to the Charlie Kirk Show? It makes you want to get out and get into the streets. This is cheaper than a cup of coffee and better for you than an espresso. But check it out, relieffactor.com. If you guys want to be able to get to sleep nicely, because maybe the show has fired you up too much, that is relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. We're experiencing the coordinated attack on Elon Musk and Tesla dealerships. However, Elon seems largely unfazed by this. He seems largely unfazed because for him, money is nothing more than a game. I mean, there is something to say that once you get over $150 billion, it really is kind of just numbers on a screen. But he's never been motivated by material possessions. Elon Musk does not own major mansions. He owns planes basically just for utilitarian purposes. They say that this has never happened before, that a rich man has never come into the White House. However, World War II was largely won thanks to the industrial policy that was orchestrated and that was directed by Bernard Baruch. Bernard Baruch was an industrialist. He was one of the wealthiest men on the planet. He decided to take his time and go into the White House. He was known as the park bench statesman. In fact, there is a bench named for him outside of the White House in Lafayette Square. He came in both during World War I and World War II. During World War I, Bernard Baruch served under Woodrow Wilson. He played a crucial role in managing U.S. economic mobilization during the war. He even advised Wilson at the Paris Peace Conference. In the interwar period, he continued to advise presidents on economic and military preparedness. During World War II, he was the top-level advisor to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This guy was the industrial titan of the time. He was not quite as rich as Elon Musk, but he was very, very wealthy. Think of him as in the category of Bezos of the time. He served as an ear and an advisor to FDR. For industrial production for war efforts, his strategies are credited with significantly reducing production times for military equipment. Blake knows these facts better than I do. But one of the reasons that we were able to to win World War II so decisively and honestly rather quickly is we were able to build ships and build critical infrastructure faster than the Europeans could have even imagined. We mobilized the entire country, and I think we were able to build a naval ship a day or a week. I'm lending on some memory here, but it was a remarkable feat of accomplishment. We did a ship in a day as a stunt. That was the Liberty ship. Our infrastructure was very intact at the time. The point being, though, is that this has happened before. Is that Bernard Baruch came during a time of national crisis and said, I don't care how much money I make, I'm going to go all in. Elon Musk is very similar. And that is a great way to get this parasitic force that calls themselves the American Democrat Party to mobilize against you. And Elon Musk seems largely unfazed. In fact, this only makes him seem to want to double and triple down his efforts. Yesterday, President Trump ordered an electric vehicle to the White House. I will be honest, a year ago, March of 2024, I did not have it on my bingo card that in the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, President Trump would be getting into a Tesla. There's a lot broken in this country. The TSA is broken. Our banking system is broken. Our hospitals are broken. Our government is largely broken. But America's entrepreneurs are one of the only things in the country that works. So why are we supposed to trust the government experts over our masterclass entrepreneurs? You understand that our top 3,000 entrepreneurs in this country, whether it be in crypto, fintech, banking, electric vehicles, online e-commerce, energy, are the envy of the world. No nation, not even China, has the entrepreneurs that we have. They are the greatest asset that we have. And Elon is the greatest of the greatest asset. We should be thanking God that someone with his wisdom, his power, his magnitude, his force, and his patriotism is willing to step into the void. And just remember, it's worthy of repetition. Because of him purchasing Twitter, President Trump is probably in the White House. We'll be right back.
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. President Trump is beginning the process of dismantling the Department of Education by cutting nearly half of the agency's staff. Just over 2,000 employees are still on the payroll after some 1,300 got pink slips Tuesday evening. That number includes those who took voluntary buyouts. In a statement, new Education Secretary Linda McMahon writing, "Today's reduction in force reflects the Department of Education's commitment to efficiency, accountability, and ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most, to students, parents, and teachers." McMahon goes on to say the move is the first step towards shutting down the DOE. She also acknowledges, though, that accomplishing that would require an act of Congress. Friday remains the deadline to pass a funding bill to keep the government open. The continuing resolution to make it happen is now in the hands of the U.S. Senate after the House passed the measure by a 217 to 213 vote Tuesday. Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie was the only GOP defector. However, the bill faces another major fight in the Senate, where 60 votes will be needed to get it over the finish line. Senate Republicans don't have enough votes to go it alone, meaning that at least 7 Democrats would have to join them to pass the bill, provided that all Republicans vote for it. And while the president is practicing diplomacy this morning, he's also dealing with a potential trade war with Canada. Canada is expected to announce nearly $30 billion in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods in response to the 25% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, which just went into effect today. Initially, the president was going to hit Canada with the 50% tariff today after an Ontario utility threatened to cut power to more than 1 million U.S. homes unless all tariff threats against Canadian exports to the United States were stopped. Well, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford ended up backing down from that after President Trump's tariff increase announcement on Tuesday. Ford is now set to meet with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. Meantime, a 25% tariff is also in effect for other countries starting today, and the European Commission is responding by saying that it's going to counter with counter tariffs on $28 billion worth of U.S. products. That's a quick check of your headlines.
Future of America, and the future is bright. Here is Charlie Kirk.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to tell you about one of our partners. Then we have the great Leo Terrell, who is working in the Department of Justice, to join us. Let me tell you guys about what we have here. My Patriot Supply. MyPatriotSupply.com. On January 20th, 2025, the White House declared a national emergency. It wouldn't be a surprise if we started experiencing more frequent power outages as well as electromagnetic pulses or EMP attacks that could fry all electronics in the country and shut down the grid for months or even years. Most people cannot survive without electricity. That is why My Patriot Supply just released the new Grid Doctor 3300. The first solar generator with revolutionary EMP intercept technology. This groundbreaking system protects your backup power from devastating EMP attacks, ensuring your family stays safe and comfortable when others are left in the dark. With an industry-leading 3,300 watts of power, it runs everything from refrigerators and freezers to medical devices and power tools. Plus, it includes a free 200-watt waterproof solar panel for unlimited renewable energy. Don't wait until it's too late. Go get your Grid Doctor 3300 with EMP intercept technology now at MyPatriotSupply.com. Secure your family's future at MyPatriotSupply.com. That is MyPatriotSupply.com. MyPatriotSupply.com. Email us freedom@charliekirk.com and subscribe to our podcast. We have with us Leo Terrell from the Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights, the great Leo Terrell. Leo, welcome to the program.
Charlie, it is a pleasure. I don't know if I'm great, but I'm proud to be serving the country. Basically, President Trump gave me this tremendous opportunity. I'm under the leadership of Pam Bondi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you are head of the Department of Justice Task Force to combat anti-Semitism. Tell us all about it.
Well, let me tell you right now, the Biden-Harris-Garland administration ignored the anti-Semitism on campuses throughout this country, in cities, in blue cities. And President Trump has made it a point of order to make sure that we eliminate anti-Semitism throughout this entire country. And that was one of the executive orders he signed. And Pam Bondi has taken that executive order and have created a task force that really joins every federal agency with the ultimate purpose to eliminate anti-Semitism. What has gone on these college campuses is outrageous, is unfair, is illegal, is unconstitutional, and violates equal protection. The Jewish American people want the same rights as every other American group. And yet these universities have turned their back on them. So basically, the task force is designed to use every tool in the Department of Justice toolbox to stop it. We're going to visit the 10 worst schools on our campus tour. You're invited, Charlie. And we're going to basically inform these board of trustees. They have a fiduciary responsibility to protect Jewish American students like everyone else. And if litigation is necessary, we're going to explore litigation. We're going to explore every aspect for the sole purpose to make sure Jewish American students are allowed to go to school without being tormented, harassed, or basically intimidated. That is our ultimate goal.
So tell us about the decision that Marco Rubio has made, because he has unfettered discretion, according to the INA, the Immigration Naturalization Act, to be able to deport Mahmoud Khalil. Some critics are saying, Leo, this is just a matter of freedom of speech, that you should be allowed to protest against the state of Israel. How do you guys draw the line between protesting against Israel and also anti-Semitism?
Thank you for that question, Charlie. First of all, let me just brag a little bit. I've been a civil rights attorney for 35 years. I know what First Amendment speech is, and I would protect your First Amendment right to speak. But what we're witnessing at Columbia and at these universities goes well beyond freedom of speech. This is outright illegal conduct, criminal behavior, and you couple that with the intended purpose to prevent Jewish American students to access to their campuses, to their schools, in which they're paying a lot of money to attend. Let me be very clear about this law. This individual is not an American citizen. And I've watched these Democrats talk about his constitutional rights. Excuse me. This is not a criminal proceeding. He is here based on the graces, the grace of the American government to come into this country and to attend a university on a student visa. And he received that benefit. That is a privilege, not a right. And what has happened? He's violated that privilege, Charlie. He has basically utilized the Columbia University campus as a arsenal to harass Jewish students and to support a terrorist organization. Now, let me be very clear. Marco Rubio, I want these Democrats to check the law. He has the discretion to revoke this individual's visa, his green card, and he can use the argument that this individual's conduct is adverse to foreign policy. I would submit to you, Charlie, that this individual, who's not an American citizen, his conduct on the campus of Columbia is adverse to Jewish Americans. We support Jewish Americans. It's adverse to the position that we consider Hamas a terrorist organization. He supports Hamas. So I will tell you right now that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State Rubio, has the right to submit a revocation order for this person to be sent away. And let me be very clear. This is a message to every protester who is here in this country on a student visa. If you're going to participate in anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas activity, you are subject to deportation.
I agree completely with all that. Khalil does not want to live in America because he loves our land. our people or our values. Khalil wants to live in America in order to contribute to the destruction and eradication of America. Staying in America is not a right, it's a privilege, and Mahmoud Khalil threw his privilege away. And are you guys receiving a good feedback from these universities? I deal at these universities, Leo, as you well know. They are infested with anti-Americanism, anti-Semitism, also treatment against white students. This has been terrible in recent years. What is the response you are getting from these colleges as you guys have announced this very important task force?
Well, first of all, we're getting a major positive response from these universities, almost like we're going to clean up our act letters. I got one from one of the universities that we're going to, that they're going to take measures to combat anti-Semitism. Oh, why did they wait for the last 3.5 years? Oh, because Trump is not going to play the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Merrick Garland, Michigan strategy? Oh, no. They are responding, Charlie, because besides the fact some of these students are possibly could be deported. Remember, last week, we canceled $400 million of money. Government taxpayers will no longer subsidize anti-Semitic behavior. So the response is great, but I don't trust them. We're going to make sure we get it in writing, commitments that this elimination of anti-Semitism is going to take place on all campuses permanently, and it is going to be enforced by not only the Department of Justice. I got to take my hat off to Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education. Every agency in the Trump administration is working and on eliminating anti-Semitism. I can guarantee you this, Charlie, that these universities are responding because they don't want to lose the money. They don't want the stigma to be attached. They don't want to face possible legal action. So every tool in the toolbox has forced this change. They're not doing it willingly, but it's because of Donald J. Trump, Pam Bondi, and all the other agencies telling them, do it or else we'll do it for you. And I got to add one other point that's going to make sure that people understand. It's not just the universities. It's some of these cities. Ever since October 7th, 2023, what have these blue cities done to arrest these individuals for hate crime? They get arrested, Charlie, they get released. So we're telling these blue city mayors, these blue city district attorneys, do your job and arrest these individuals who have committed hate crime and do the job of prosecuting them. There must be a deterrent effect. And that is the goal of this task force, President Trump and Pam Bondi.
So Leo, I think you guys are going to be successful here. I really do, because we got you, and you're phenomenal at what you do, and you are a bulldog. And so if you guys are successful, or when you guys are successful, would you guys also do a similar task force to go after the anti-white bias that we're seeing on our college campuses across the country?
Oh, yes. Let me be clear. Anti-white bias, this is all DEI nonsense. The attack on Christians, the attack on Catholics. Charlie, let me tell you right now, all the president wants to do is make sure everyone is treated fairly. And we're focusing on, this task force is focusing on anti-Semitism. But, what President Trump has done since the outset to eliminate DEI, to stop playing this game of this attack on people because of skin color is being taught in school. This is a project that the president is committed to. Treat everyone equally. That's all we want to do. No preferential treatment, no affirmative action. Just treat everyone equally. And right now, our focus is on that task force against anti-Semitism, but for Catholics, for whites, for Christians, for everyone, blacks, brown, yellow, we want to treat you equally under the law.
Absolutely. And you have a great history, Leo, of doing that. And for example, there are dormitories, one in particular in Cal Berkeley, where the off-campus housing policy was the person of color theme house, where a student had too light skin and wasn't allowed to go and have a place in that dormitory, from the problematizing whiteness course at University of Colorado Denver. I mean, the list is insane, and you guys are going to get to the bottom of it. And so, Leo, you're doing a great job. We have your back. Thank you so much, and fight hard. And by the way, don't just take these colleges' rhetoric. I don't trust these colleges. They have to fire these anti-American, pro-Hamas professors as well. I think you guys should demand that and ask for the order. Leo, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Appreciate it. God bless you.
We're interrupting this program for a special live report.
We're interrupting your regularly scheduled programming to take you to the White House, where President Trump is meeting with Ireland's Taoiseach, or Prime Minister. Let's listen into their conversation.
Thank you very much. Paul Martin, Taoiseach, Ireland. It's a special place, and he's a very special guy. He did it the hard way also. He served, and then he took a little time off, and then he served again. I've heard about that. It happens on occasion. He's done it very well, and we knew each other from a long time ago. But it's a great honor to have you in the Oval Office and have you at the White House. We have tremendous business relationships with Ireland, and that'll only get stronger. The relationship we have personally and every other way is very, very strong and very, very good. So I just want to welcome you to Washington, D.C. and to our country, and thank you very much.
May I thank you, President? It's a great honor for me to be here to celebrate St. Patrick's with you. And thank you for your hospitality and the warmth of your reception. And I commend you in terms of the work that you're doing, particularly in terms of the pursuit of peace, which you discussed earlier. I think that's going well. And you really have, in the first 100 days of this government, you've done some extraordinary things very quickly. And for everybody's watching in that respect. So, delighted to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's a great honor to have you. Special people, very special people. I know a lot of Irish, and growing up in New York, I know a couple of your people that used to live in that beautiful Ireland, and now they're here, but they love your country very much. You know, they have a great feeling for your country.
They have, and a lot come back for holidays
they come back.
Stuff like that, and checking out their family, ancestry, and things like that.
Great, fantastic people.
Some go to June Vegas, man.
I love June Vegas. I love that. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. Maybe I won't. I think I will. We'll get there. We're going to get there. It's a beautiful place, wonderful place. Any questions?
How worried, President Trump, how worried are you about the counter tariffs from the EU which were announced yesterday? And also, how worried should Ireland be, given the fact that it has a massive trade surplus with the US, over $50 billion? Neil Martin made you quite nervous about what you're going to tell him today.
Well, I don't think he looks nervous to me. And if he was nervous, he wouldn't show it. No, we do have a massive deficit with Ireland, because Ireland was very smart. They took our pharmaceutical companies away from presidents that didn't know what they were doing. And, it's too bad that happened. It's a tremendous job I give. Look, the Irish are smart. You're smart people. And you took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies, but, through taxation and proper taxation. They made it very, very good for companies to move over there. We had presidents and people that were involved in this that had no idea what they were doing, and they lost big segments of our economy. The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. I saw that. I had it out with them in my first term. It did well, but we had to solve other problems. If he was nervous, he wouldn't show it. We do have a massive deficit with Ireland, because Ireland was very smart. They took our pharmaceutical companies away from presidents that didn't know what they were doing. And, it's too bad that happened. It's a tremendous job I give. Look, the Irish are smart. You're smart people. And you took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies, but, through taxation and proper taxation. They made it very, very good for companies to move over there. And we had presidents and people that were involved in this that had no idea what they were doing, and they lost big segments of our economy. The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. I saw that. I had it out with them in my first term. It did well, but we had to solve other problems, and we did. But European Union's been very tough. And it's our turn, too. You know, we get a turn at that also. But they have not been fair. They sue our companies and win massive amounts of money. They sued Apple, won $17 billion. And they use that for other reasons, I guess, or to run the European Union. So I'm not knocking it. They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union. But it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that. Whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is. If they charge us 25 or 20% or 10% or 2% or 200%, then that's what we're charging them. And so I don't know why people get upset about that, because there's nothing more fair than that. And we had a problem with Ontario, and they dropped that when I let them know what we were going to be doing. They dropped it immediately, so I'm glad, because electricity, you shouldn't be playing with electricity. It affects people's lives. Actually their life. I mean, it can affect, depending on weather, it can affect their life, so we can't do that. And it doesn't make sense that our country allows electricity to be made in another country and sold into us. Who did that deal for the United States? Okay, I looked at that long ago, and I said that's not something that's very smart. So we've had a lot of bad trade policies, and yet we're doing very well right now. But we're doing well because I won the election. If I didn't win the election, you would have had a very bad period. I think a lot of the stock market going down was because of a really bad 4 years that we had. When you look at inflation and all of the other problems wars and inflation and so many other problems. But we're going to have very good years. We had, I don't know if you saw a little thing like the cost of eggs, little to you, but big to people out there, down almost 30% in the last few days. We got it down. We did a lot of things. We have a great Secretary of Agriculture, and we did a lot of things that got the cost of eggs down very substantially, and so many other things. A very big thing that I'm very happy with is oil is down to $65 a barrel, and that's faster than I would have attempted. We put on the gas. We stepped on the gas in order to get oil, and what's happening. So we're getting that down, and when energy comes down, prices are going to be coming down with it. So in a very short period of time, we've done a very good job. And I think that the tariffs that we're talking about, and again, reciprocal, I think that the tariffs, there are some cases where they're a little beyond reciprocal because, you know, we've been abused for a long time as a country. We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer. Okay.
Are you going to retaliate to the EU? Retaliate? Education, sir. Would you describe for us as this meeting your vision by cutting about half the workforce? And what responsibility do you feel to the civil servants who have now lost their jobs? Many of them worked at the Department of Education during their first term.
Sure, I do. I feel very badly, and but many of them don't work at all. Many of them never showed up to work. Many of them never showed up to work, Kelly, and unfortunately, and that's not good. And when we cut, you know, we go, and that's what I had a number of meetings with a lot of people over the last couple of months. When we cut, we want to cut, but we want to cut the people that aren't working or not doing a good job. We're keeping the best people. And Linda McMahon is a real professional, actually a very sophisticated business person. And she cut a large number, but she kept the best people. And we'll see how it all works out. But our country was run very badly. I mean, whether it was that or contracts that were signed that was so bad, so obviously bad. And I go through them in speeches. I could go through them all day long. I could read for billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. And all of that fat and waste and fraud and abuse is being taken out. But it's incredible what's happened. Now, Department of Education's maybe more so than any other place has a lot of people that can be cut. They're, number one, not showing up to work. Number two, they're not doing a good job. And if you take a look at our education process, and if you look at the charts, because they have numerous charts where they do the top 40, we're at number 37, 38, 39, and 40. And recently they hit, during Biden's last few days, they hit last. So they were number 40. And yet we're number one in cost per pupil. So it's pretty bad. But we have a dream. And you know what the dream is? We're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education into the states so that the states, instead of bureaucrats working in Washington, so that the states can run education. And you have Norway, you have Denmark, you have Sweden, you have Finland, you have various countries that do very well. You also have China that does very well in education, which is a pretty big tribute to China, I must say. 1.4 billion, and they're in the top 10. And it's pretty amazing. So we can't blame size anymore. You know, normally you'd blame size. It's too big. How can you do it? But China does it. So we think when you move it back to Iowa and Indiana and all the states that run so well, there's so many, I could name 30, maybe almost 40. Those will be as good as Denmark. Those will be as good as Norway, and they'll be as good as any of these. I believe they'll be as good as any. Now, then you're going to have 10 that won't be so great. You're going to have 5 that will not be good at all, but we'll work with them and we'll get them to be good. But what we want to do is always school choice, but we're going to do school choice, and we're doing it. But we want education to be moved back where the states run education, where the parents of the children will be running education, where governors that are doing a very good job will be running education, not run. I drive through the city and I see like so many buildings, Department of Education, Department of big buildings, and by the way, they're empty. Nobody shows up to work. So I think Linda did a very good job.
Mr. President, do you have a meeting with Vladimir Putin scheduled or a conversation? What would be your
I won't comment on that, but we had a great success yesterday. We have a full ceasefire. If it kicks in, we have to see. It's up to Russia now. But we've had a good relationship with both parties, actually, and we'll see. We'll be knowing people are going to Russia right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. And if we do, I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there. On average, 2,000 to 3,000 young people a week are being killed in that stupid war that would have never happened if I were president. So we have people going over there. Mr. VP, do you have anything to say about it? Because you're very much involved. What's going to happen?
Well, we've got some conversations that are happening on the phone and in person with some of our representatives over the next couple of days. As the president said, we think that we're in a very good place where the Ukrainians have agreed to a ceasefire, and we're now going to see whether we can get the Russians to agree to a ceasefire too. And we'll certainly have news on that when we find out that news.
Are you confident that Vladimir Putin will keep the ceasefire, considering that he's broken them in the past?
We haven't spoken to him yet with substance, because we just found out and we just were able to get Ukraine to agree. So we're going to know very soon. I've gotten some positive messages, but a positive message means nothing. This is a very serious situation. This is a situation that could lead to World War III. And Biden should have never let it happen. Incompetence allowed this to happen. This shouldn't have happened. October 7th in the Middle East should have never happened with Israel. The horrible leaving, the way they left Afghanistan should have never happened. Inflation should have never happened. You know, we have great inflation numbers, by the way, just got released. Inflation is way down, and it's based on what we've done, and we've done it in a very short period of time. You know, we had virtually no inflation. For 4 years, we had almost no inflation, and when these characters took over, we went from no inflation to the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. So it's very interesting. Go ahead.
Are you going to retaliate against me?
And by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's socks.
That the United States is recognized as having such an important role in the peace process, and yet half the parties from the Northern Ireland government have decided not to come to St. Patrick's Day celebrations.
They haven't what?
They haven't come over. They're boycotting the St. Patrick's Day celebration.
What are they boycotting?
They are talking about your position on Gaza as one of the reasons.
No, I haven't heard that. I really haven't heard that. Look,
can I just say, I got to pay tribute to the President on the peace initiatives. The one thing we've learned in Ireland about the peace process that you've just spoken about, and I recall back in the early 90s,
When they first tentative steps to get peace in Ireland, people criticised people like John Hume or people like Albert Reynolds and then Taoiseach. But they kept going. And when we got that ceasefire in 1993, okay, it took a number of years to get the comprehensive peace settlement. But again, the guns more or less largely went silent. The war in Ukraine is a devastating war on young people. And I think that very simple, straightforward narrative is to be commended. We all have children. We're shocked at the prospect of young people losing their lives in that number, be they Ukrainian, be they Russian, whatever. Anything we can do to stop the violence, I think, is an extremely positive day. And there will be all sorts of people having qualifications on it and all the rest of it. It's our job then to work on it and to try and build it, US and everything.
I will say, and thank you for that, but I will say, last week 2,500 young people died while we sit here and talk.
Yeah.
And while they talk about peace, but they've been talking about peace. This should have never happened. This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president. That's what makes me more angry than anything else, because you've had far more people die than they report, than these people report for whatever reason. But you had far more people. The numbers are far more devastating. You'll find that out someday. And it doesn't affect you very much. They're not Irish, and they're not from my country. They're from Russia mostly, almost all from Russia and from Ukraine. And people could say, why are you doing this? Why are you involved in that? Because 2,000 people a week are dying. And they have families, and they have mothers, and they have fathers, and they have sisters, and they have brothers and friends. And they're dying. And I've seen the pictures, the satellite pictures that we see all the time. And it looks like Gettysburg in its prime, because that was, they say, one of the most horrific battles ever. You have kids lying all over these fields that are dead because the weapons today are unbelievable, between drones and various types of guns. I'm not even talking about beyond that with the big babies. You understand what I mean? I hate to even mention the name, the nuclear name. I hate to mention it. But you have weapons today that are so powerful. And I see kids every week. I see pictures of kids laying all over the field dead. They're dead. Beautiful kids. They're dead. And they're not from here and they're not from where you are, but he's working very hard. We're all working hard to get this thing finished. It's crazy over nothing, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just a terrible situation. And I think we have a chance to get it done. So we've gotten half of it as a ceasefire, and if we can get Russia to stop, then we have a full ceasefire, and I think it'll never go back to war. I think something will.
Ireland's relationship with Israel. There's been a lot of talk recently. The government are looking to bring in what's called the Occupied Territories Bill, which would ban goods from occupied territories. I know you met with Prime Minister Netanyahu recently. Did Ireland come up in that conversation? Did he raise any concerns about the large government?
One thing I'll tell you, you're not from Israel, that's for sure, huh? She is definitely not from Israel. It's an interesting question coming from you. We talk about everything. Israel has been under siege, as you can see, and they had to fight back. October 7th was a terrible thing. People don't like to mention it, but it was a terrible, terrible day in the life of the world. And it's amazing the way people don't mention that, but it was, I've never seen anything like it. Those are other clips I get to see. You know, as president, you get to see clips that you'd rather not see, but I see clips, and that was a terrible day for the world. And we're working hard with Israel. We're working hard to see if we can solve the problem. I will say I just saw 10 hostages, and they were treated really badly. They were really treated badly. I was shocked. I asked him, was there any kindness shown? They were in there. One was in there for 500 days. One was 323 days. I said, was there any, 10 of them. I said, was there any kindness displayed? Like, did they ever, like, say, don't worry, you'll be okay? Or give you a little wink, or give you, like, an extra slice of bread or something? And everybody said, all of these people said, zero. It was hatred. It was pure hatred. So, I mean, that's a very deep-seated problem.
Could you give the Taoiseach some advice? Ireland is in the midst of a housing crisis now, and I know you have a lot of experience as a businessman. How
how can the state build tens of thousands of houses at speed?
You know why they have a housing crisis? Because they're doing so well. They can't produce houses fast enough. That's a good problem, not a bad problem.
That's a very good answer, President.
Exactly. No, it's true.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU, Mr. President? Mr. President, will you?
Everybody should have that problem. That's okay.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU?
I know this gentleman. He'll get it solved.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU? Will you respond to their retaliation?
Oh, of course I'm going to respond.
You will retaliate
The problem
with more
is
tariffs.
our country didn't respond. Look, the EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are. I can't, I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. But the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue. Or let's say they weren't business people, but they didn't have a clue what was happening. And all of a sudden, Ireland has, our pharmaceutical companies and other, this beautiful island of 5 million people has got the entire U.S. pharmaceutical industry in its grasp. And, you mentioned housing and you mentioned other things. I mean, I have property in Ireland, as you know, and I love it. It does great. But I'd like to see the United States not have been so stupid for so many years, not just with Ireland, with everybody. I looked at trade deals. I was telling the group yesterday, I looked at trade deals in term one. It's one of the reasons I decided I had to do this, because somebody had to straighten it out, and I didn't see anybody that was going to. I looked at trade deals that were so bad, I'd actually say, how is it possible that this could have happened? Who would have been so stupid to let these deals happen? For instance, when the pharmaceutical companies started to go to Ireland, I would have said, that's okay if you want to go to Ireland. I think it's great. But if you want to sell anything into the United States, I'm going to put a 200% tariff on you, so you're never going to be able to sell anything into the United States. You know what they would have done? They would have stayed here.
So are you planning to lower corporate taxes?
He's so lucky that I wasn't.
Are you planning to lower corporate taxes to match Ireland?
Well, we are planning to lower taxes, yeah, if the Democrats behave, but the Democrats have no clue. You saw that the other night during the speech. 2 young women were slaughtered by illegal aliens. 1 young man has very serious cancer and many other problems. We look at the people up there. They all had difficulty, very serious difficulty. But when we're talking about 2 young girls, beautiful young girls, Lake and Riley, and you know the whole story. That evening was a disaster for the Democrats, in my opinion. And I would mention, and I'd see 2 mothers that were inconsolable as they stood, crying. Their daughters have been absolutely just destroyed, killed, viciously killed. And the young man who loves the police departments, he had cancer and has cancer, very bad cancer. There wasn't from people sitting there, Democrats, there wasn't a hand clap. Nobody stood. They were just stone-faced. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. There was no standing for anybody. The only thing they liked is when they heard about the death taking place with Ukraine. They were happy about that. They were happy about that. Pocahontas was very happy. She's the one that was slapped. That's why I looked at her. I said, oh, it's Pocahontas. These people are sick. They don't know what's happening in the real world. The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats. And Schumer is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
There's been a lot of on and off, some inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency, only with NBC, which is one of the worst networks on television, by the way. Let me just tell you the inconsistency. I have the right to adjust. And I was called by the automakers, as an example, General Motors, Ford, etc., the big 3, the big 4, and they asked me to do them a favor. Could I delay it for a period of 4 weeks so that they're not driven into a little bit of a disaster for them. They actually love what I'm doing, but they had a problem. And I'm not like a block that just, I won't delay. It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view towards?
Sure, I'll always have flexibility, but there will be very little flexibility once we start. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for the United States of America. The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership, grossly incompetent. I gave you an example of Ireland. I would have never let that happen. Impossible for that to have happened. But we're going to take back our wealth, and we're going to take back a lot of the companies that left are coming back. If you haven't read, we have the biggest computer chip company ever, has virtually all of the market. I didn't call them, they called me. And they called for two reasons. Number one, we had a great election of somebody that they want running the country. And we won in a big mandate. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won by 2,750 districts to 500. Think of that, 2,750 districts to 500. That's why the map, when you looked at it, was entirely red, meaning Republican. Yeah. Not meaning communist. Meaning so anyway, look, this country needed somebody to defend it. It's this big, beautiful place that was being ripped off by illegal immigrants coming in from prisons, coming in from mental institutions, gang members, gang leaders, drug dealers, pouring into our country with the open borders. I am so angry at the last 4 years at what they've done to our country, what they've done to this country between inflation, but maybe the most that bothers me is that they would allow millions of people to come into our country that are stone cold murderers, killers, drug dealers, the worst gang members, the worst people allowed into our country. And we're now getting them out. We're going to get them out. We're getting them out. I want to thank Tom Homan, by the way. He's doing a great job. And I want to thank Kristi Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. This is a job that's so unnecessary. This should have never happened. So we're bringing back our country in many ways, not only financially, and financially we'll be stronger than ever before. I think the markets are going to soar when they see what's happening. I'll tell you what, I'm called every day by numerous big companies. I spoke at the Business Roundtable yesterday. They had the largest attendance they've ever had. And these are only the CEOs and chairmen, but mostly the people that run, the boss, the people that run the top 150 companies. 150 people showed up. Every single company showed up. First time it ever happened. It's been around a long time. The biggest business leaders. We had a great discussion. Went really well. And I want to tell you, there's tremendous optimism out there about our country in terms of regulations being cut, in terms of taxes being cut. And it would be great if the Democrats would do what's right. It would be great if the Democrats would do what's right for our country for a change, because they really are. They've lost their way. They've lost their way. They think that people pouring into our country from prisons, jails, murderers. We have 11,088 murderers that were allowed into, people that murdered people, half of which murdered more than one person in our country. We're getting them the hell out. But who would run it? Who would allow this to happen? Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. It's got to be a 95% issue. But they're on television this morning. I see this person, a Democrat, say, we should have the right. No. Men should not be. They're hurting women. They're hurting women very badly. They're hurting women. And they should not. And they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy so that Ireland and other countries can't take our businesses away from us. And he understands exactly. You guys did the right thing. I'm not upset with you. I think I respect what you've done. You've done a great job. But our people did a very bad job.
How advanced are
are your plans to try and bring some of those companies back to America? And will you be briefing?
Well, I'd love to have him back. I mean, I'd love to have him back, but he'll be fighting me on it.
I mean, what I would say, President, if I could 1 second, just make the point. It's a two-way street too, and we are investing a lot more in America now. And people may not realise, but Ryanair, one of our biggest airlines, for example, AirCap, they buy more. The two of them together buy more Boeing airplanes than anybody else outside of America. That's a little known fact. It doesn't turn up in the statistics, but Ryanair and AirCap, big aircraft leasing company, Irish company, have done great work with Boeing and huge investments over the last couple of years. You know, so and there's a lot of Irish companies here now, about 700 odd Irish companies based in America. Glanbia, Smurford, Waterrock. I was saying to you this morning, a lot of them creating thousands of jobs in America, and it's only fair. I mean, that's correct. That's right. That's the way it should happen, and I think it's a very good relationship we have. It's a historic one. It's happened over time. We've added value to American companies. We've increased our value. They've got access to the European market, and they did all of that. I understand where you're coming from fully, but I think it's a relationship that we can develop and that will endure into the future and will change. It will adapt. And you're evolving and you're doing things.
And they've done a very good job. Now, I just will say this, but with all that we've said, we can talk about Ryanair. There's a massive deficit. I don't mean by a little bit. I mean, there's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland and with other countries too. And we want to sort of even that out as nicely as we can, and we'll work together. We're going to work together great, but the deficit is massive. When you hear this one?
You said earlier that it was now up to Russia in terms of the ceasefire. Is there anything you can do in terms of pressuring Russia or in terms of sanctions? Or what can you do?
We can, but I hope it's not going to be necessary. Sure, we can pressure. We can do that with Russia. Remember this, Russia took Georgia from Bush, right? They took Crimea from a man named Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, right? They're trying to take the whole thing from Biden. They're going for the whole ball of wax. Who is the only one that never took anything from? Trump. And in fact, I'm the one that stopped Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world. I stopped it. It was dead. And then Biden got in and he approved it. Nobody mentions that. What I did to Russia was very tough. I was the toughest ever. But nope, they never took anything from me. They took them from Obama and Bush, and they took it from Sleepy Joe Biden. With Biden, they wanted to take the whole country, but I think I've stopped that, but we'll see. But yeah, there are things you could do that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace. And we're getting close to maybe getting something done. We've got Ukraine done, and as you know, I've always said that Ukraine might have been the more difficult party. You were here a week ago when some interesting things happened. I had somebody that didn't seem to want peace. Now he's agreed to peace. So we'll see what happens. Brian?
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
First, we'll congratulate you on your lower inflation core rates.
Thank you.
Gas prices going down, airline prices going down. This is for the Irish gentleman here, if I can see him real quickly. Welcome to the United States. You look great.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Now you feel good.
What's coming next?
Ran on Make America Great Again. If you could run on MEGA, Make Ireland Great Again, what would your number one issue be for people in Ireland right now to make your country stronger? And I've got a two-part question to that as well.
Yeah. The number one issue in Ireland is housing, to be honest, and I think it was correctly pointed out. We've got to build more houses. We've got to build them faster to give the young people of Ireland an opportunity to afford to buy a house or to afford to rent a house. We have a lot of other good things happening. That's my number one priority.
Are you trying to
my second part question to this, Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland. I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell?
No.
Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
You're better off not. You're better off not knowing.
Prime Minister, are you expecting to inform the President your views on Gaza, considering that you have diametrically opposed positions on the state of Palestine? Your country is one of 3 in Europe that recognizes the state of Palestine. Are you expecting to discuss this with the President? Are you expecting to inform him?
I don't have to inform the President. He's very well clued into the whole situation. We shared the President's, again, unrelenting focus on peace. And he's envoying, the President himself, as soon as he came into office, went to get a ceasefire. We've been calling for a ceasefire for a long time. We wanted to consolidate the peace. That is our fundamental aim. We want the hostages out. I've been saying it from day one. It's a horrific thing to do, to take someone as a hostage. And I went to Kibbutz Be'eri after October the 7th in solidarity with Israel, and that gets forgotten. And I went a week or 2 afterwards. I saw the kibbutz. It was a shocking thing to see, even though it was a week or 2 after the horror. It was a village. You could see life going on prior to the attack. It was something that will not leave me. And I've been interested in the Middle East for a long, long time. It's complex, and it's all of that. But we do desperately need the hostages out, all of them. It's far too long. Let me finish, please. And then we need a ceasefire. We need to consolidate that. We need a surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza, because again, there's too many children and too many people starving, and so on. Just too many. And it's that humanitarian impulse is what motivates the Irish in respect of its views. And I've always been of the view. It's been our view that a 2-state solution would be ideal. It's become much more challenging and difficult as time has moved on. But that has always been our position. But it's genuinely to have people, because we've gone through this. We discussed this prior to you coming in. We've been through some of this. People hating each other, terrible acts of violence carried out on each other. We came through it. It's our earnest hope that Arab and Jewish people can live side by side. And I've met with people, parents of children who were killed on both sides, called Parents Circle in Israel, and they work to try and bring people together. It's difficult work.
What about the President's plans to expel Palestinians out of Gaza? Are you discussing that with him and giving him your...
Nobody's expelling any Palestinians. I don't know. Who are you with?
I'm with Voice of America, sir.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, Voice of America.
How he feels about the President just saying that he would like to take back US companies, pharma companies based in Ireland.
Well, I think the pharmaceutical companies in Ireland are doing very well, as the President has outlined. Again, I think it's about that two-way partnership. I understand fully where the President is coming from. I think there's actually room. Now, we can discuss all this. I think there's room for those companies to grow in America, and many of them, by the way, have already announced fairly significant manufacturing investments now.
It's true, just recently.
Like people like Eli Lilly, for example, who have been a long-standing presence in Ireland since the 1970s. I spoke to the CEO recently.
He's great.
A great guy, and he's announced, I think, about a $50 billion investment in America.
New plants.
But there's big investment. They've had big investment in Ireland. Ireland has served them well too. The workforce is very strong. It's an educated workforce. They delivered well during COVID-19. A number of CEOs said to me, a lot of the plants in Ireland were the only plants that never closed for a single day during COVID. Not a single day. Productivity is good and so on like that.
Mr. President, thank you so much. You spoke to Vladimir Putin for quite a while.
Yes.
So I want to know your assessment. When you take this deal to him, how do you assess the chances of doing this?
I have no assessment, and I don't go by chances. I think it makes sense for Russia. A lot of downside for Russia, too. And we have a very complex situation solved on one side, pretty much solved. We've also discussed land and other things that go with it. We're not just doing it and saying ceasefire. We don't know what's happening. We know the areas of land we're talking about, whether it's pulled back or not pulled back. We've discussed a lot of the details of what has to go because we don't want to be wasting time. We don't want to be wasting time while people are dying. I mean, as we're sitting here, you probably had 2 people die on that very open field. It's dead flat. It's great farmland, and it's dead flat. There's no protection. The only thing that stops a bullet is a human body. And these are bodies that are young people. and they're stopping a lot of bullets because a lot of bullets are flying across those level fields. Dead flat, no protection whatsoever. It is a disaster. And so I hope he's going to have a ceasefire.
And you are using the American leverage to get a lot of political issues.
Well, I don't want to get into that, but if I had to, I'm the only one that's dealt with them successfully. Everyone else, I went through it. Bush didn't deal with them successfully, dealt with them terribly, got ripped off. And Obama was a disaster. You know, they have with Obama, he gave them sheets, and I gave them anti-tank missiles. You know that, right? It's called Javelin. You know the Javelin? I'm the one that gave them the Javelins. People don't say that. And then they say, oh, Trump has a great relationship with Russia. I'm the one that gave him the Javelins. Obama gave him sheets. That's an expression. He gave sheets, I gave javelins. So,
Mr. President, how worried should the undocumented Irish be about your administration that you don't round them up and send them home again?
Oh, I think the Irish love Trump. We won the Irish with a tremendous amount of vote. I want to thank you very much. We won in the 80s with Irish. I got the Irish vote. I think I have it locked up pretty good unless I did something very stupid like drained your company, your wonderful place of all of its companies. If I drained Ireland of all of the companies, maybe I'd lose the Irish vote. I don't know. But right now, no, I love it. I've been there many times, as you know, yes. And we don't want to do anything to hurt Ireland. We want it, but we do want fairness, and he understands that. No, that's enough, Kelly. Thank you.
President, is there anything that the teacher could say to you today that would dissuade you from going ahead with
I can't hear.
Mr. President, it's Irish American Appreciation Month. You've named it there. Who's your favorite Irish person?
Oh, there's so many. Are you kidding me? Well, I do happen to like your fighter. He's got the best tattoos I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm a big, but that.
Conor McGregor.
Well, you have. Well, Conor's great, right? You know, talking about Conor, but you have a lot of great Irish fighters, actually. Great fighters. I don't know what that is, but Ireland's always had a lot of good fighters. You know why? Because they're tough people. They're smart people and they're passionate people. And they really have been over the years. So many. I think your father was a great fighter, right?
He was. Sure did.
Wow. And yet, look at you. You're so smooth and so.
He was a very good defensive boxer.
He was a really good.
He was a good boxer. Yeah. Boxed for Ireland. And
yeah. But that means you genetically, I'm not going to mess around.
Do you follow any Irish law?
Okay, let's a couple of more from somebody that didn't ask a question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, should Apple go back to the U.S. from Ireland?
Who?
Apple.
Oh, Apple's been treated very badly. Look, Apple had tremendously bad luck. I thought they had a very good lawsuit, but they lost.
We fought with them.
$16 billion. $16 billion, and they were after a lot of our American companies. See, that's what's unfair. It's the European Union. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming the European Union. The European Union's gone after our companies, and Apple's a great company, and they have to give $16, $17 billion on a lawsuit that I didn't think was a good lawsuit. No, that's not good. No, the European, we have a problem with the European Union. They don't take our farm products. They don't take our cars. We take millions of cars, BMWs and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagens and everything. We take millions of cars. I said to Angela Merkel at the time, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in the middle of Munich? Why, none. I said, you're right, we have none. That's the way it is, we have none. No, I'm not happy with the European Union, I want to tell you. And,
will you put tariffs on
we're going to win that. We're going to win that financial battle.
And
it's a financial
battle.
European cars, Mr. President? Tariffs on European cars, is that something you're going to consider?
Oh, absolutely, I will do that. Yeah.
Mr. President,
Think of it, they have millions of cars coming in, millions and millions of cars. One of probably the largest. Japan's very big too, but and they don't accept our cars. We make great cars. They don't have our cars, but we have their cars. They don't have our farm products. We have the greatest farmers in the world. They don't accept our farm products, and we accept theirs. So, you know, things are going to change unless they do what they have to do, and they know what they have to do. This is not going to be a tough battle. In my opinion, not going to be tough. Just like when Ontario charged us, everybody said, oh, they just charged. I said, this will be won in 1 hour. And they announced what we were going to do, and they withdrew their little threat. And what they don't say in Canada is that 270%, have you ever heard that? We have tariffs on dairy products from Canada of 270%, going up to 400%. You never hear that. Canada's absolutely one of the worst. And we, when I say worst in terms of charging tariffs. The dairy products, they charge our farmers 240, 250, 270, and 400%. Okay? Think of that for dairy product. And we charge them like peanuts. You know why? Because we've been improperly run for so many years. I had that all settled in my first term. But then, of course, Biden, he let everything go to hell. One of the things we did is we took from China hundreds of billions of dollars, and I have great respect for President Xi. But he understood that. He understood it was a one-way street, and you can't have a one-way street. Okay? One more question.
Can you say which countries you might target in your next travel ban?
Say it.
Can you say which countries you might target in your next travel ban?
Wouldn't that be a stupid thing for me to say? I said, which countries am I going to target for the next travel ban?
Teacher, as part of the...
Can you believe somebody would ask that question?
As part of the...
Specifically, you're going to put on Ireland.
Well, we're going to talk. We're going to be talking really to the European Union. I will tell you this one little... We'll end it with this. So I have a big property in Ireland that you know well. It's one of the most highly rated hotels in all of Europe. It's beautiful. At Doonbeg. It's a beautiful 600 acres on the ocean, and everybody knows it. And we have a beautiful hotel. And I was going to do a project there, a big expansion of the place. This was when I was a civilian, before the presidency, before I even thought about the presidency. But I was going to do a really beautiful expansion because it does very well. And I got the approvals from Ireland so quickly. They were so professional. They wanted it. It's economic development, it's jobs, it's construction jobs, a big expansion, beautiful expansion. But I was told something that bothered me. They said, sir, you also have to get approved by the European Union. I said, why do I have to go to the European Union to expand a hotel that's in Ireland? They said, well, that's the way it is. I say, well, shouldn't that go fast? They said, no, it'll take at least 7 years. You gave me the approval in about 4 weeks. It was a beautiful, professional. If you took 4 years, you wouldn't have done a better job. Everything was done environmentally, everything. There's no reason to take very long. I had everything from Ireland in 4 weeks. And then I hired somebody. He said the process will be from 5 to 7 years. And I said, oh, really? And then I found out that they weren't playing games. Think about how bad that is for your country. So that was my first experience with the European Union, and I dropped the project. I just said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go 7 years to expand something. But I'll hand it to Ireland. You were so professional, so good. But I don't know why. European Union had to approve it. Yeah. And with them, it was deal. And that's the European Union. So it was a very bad experience I had.
Just say, President, you have the distinction of being, I think, the only president that has physically invested in Ireland.
That's
through your Doonbeg.
And it's been a good investment.
And for anybody, you should go there. It's just stunning.
I love this.
No, even if you don't play golf, it is a stunning landscape. Yeah. Your people have restored it very well, and our people are going to continue to work with you on that piece to do it all sort of effectively and so on.
They've had a great relationship.
But it is and the local people, my local councillor Rita McInerney texted me last week to say, tell President Trump to thank his family for the way they've worked with the local community and for the work that they've done.
I love Rory. I think Rory's great. He's a great golfer. He just won 2 weeks ago. He's a great guy. I played golf with him 3 weeks ago. And he's really a fantastic player. He's in good form, too. When he played with me, he played very well, I can tell you. No, Rory certainly is one of the favorites. He's always going to be one of them. He's a very talented guy. He's a very good person, too.
Are you planning to visit Cuba, Mr. President?
I will. I'll get there sometime. I hope soon. In fact, if we meet, we'll meet at Dunberg. Okay. But I hope to be able to get there.
Mr. President, does America have a future in NATO?
What's that?
Does America have a future in NATO?
Well, NATO has to treat us fairly. If they pay their bills and if they do what they're supposed to do. When I first got involved with NATO, as you know, they weren't paying their bills. There were 28 countries, and most of them weren't paying. And I got them to pay. And they paid billions and billions of dollars. I made a certain statement that I'm not going to be involved with NATO unless you're going to pay your bills. And I was asked a question, if we don't pay, are you going to help us? I said, no, if you don't pay, you're saying you're delinquent. A real estate term. You're delinquent. You're not paying your rent. You're not paying your bills. If you're not paying your bills, I'm not going to help. And everybody we took in, your Secretary General will tell you, he was very generous to me. He said, I've never seen anything like it. Money came in by the billions and billions and billions of dollars, and NATO became much stronger. Now, NATO's expended a lot of that money in fighting this horrible war. It's too bad they had to do that. But they had the money from me. I was the one that got people to pay. The countries, most of the countries were not paying, or they were paying a very small amount. So we'll see. But NATO can be a force for the good, absolutely.
Would you like to see Ireland join NATO, Mr. President?
That's up to Ireland.
Would you think Ireland and the EU are too close? Do you think that perhaps, like you said,
we are very close.
No, Ireland and the EU. Do you think there's too close a relationship there? Do you think there needs to be a separation? Like you said, if you can't get planning permission when you can get it in Ireland, but you can't get it in the EU, do you think?
Well, look, I can just tell you about my personal experience. That Ireland treated me very well, and the EU was terrible, and they stopped really a magnificent addition. It wasn't a big deal from the standpoint of the world. It wasn't like the things we're talking about now, but it would have been a very beautiful addition. And they stopped it, which is bad for Ireland. And I don't know why. I don't know why it would take 5 to 7 years to get something approved, but that's what it was. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're headed out. Thank you. All right, headed out right behind.
That was President Trump speaking with Ireland's Taoiseach, who's basically the prime minister of that country. Of course, they talked about a number of economic issues. All of this, of course, coming on a day when President Trump hit many countries, including Ireland, with 25% tariffs. But one of the highlights was our Brian Glenn asking about Rosie O'Donnell. In case you haven't been following this story, Rosie O'Donnell has now said that she has officially left the United States and has become a resident of Ireland. Let's listen to Brian's question.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Mr. President, are you expecting?
Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
President Trump.
There was the question, President Trump saying, you're better off not knowing who she is. Very interesting there. Well, again, we'll have more coverage of the Taoiseach, the Prime Minister there of Ireland, meeting with President Trump. The two also headed over to the Capitol, and then later on this evening, there will be a reception talking about St. Paddy's Day, which, of course, is next Monday here in the United States. For now, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
This has been a live special report. We now join our programming already in progress.
Is coming from a community of podcasters, social media influencers. Thankfully, church attendance is going up slightly. Slightly, we've seen the last couple of years, but I wouldn't give the church any credit for that. I think it's a work of the Lord, if anything else. You and I both almost assuredly agree that in order to have revival, you must have repentance. In your, 30 years of ministry, 40 years? Am I approximating right? When you see mass repentance amongst the people you deal with, what message do you deliver to be able to prompt repentance from your congregation or from any individual?
That's a good question. I'd say it a little differently. I don't think there is meaningful change without repentance.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Repentance carries two meanings. The Hebrew word for repent is to physically change directions. It's an old language and it's very earthy. In Greek, it's a change of mind. So together, Greek's the New Testament language, Hebrew's the Old. Together, repentance is a change of how we think about something and then how we behave. And without repentance, there really is no significant change. You may get caught doing something and there's punishment, and so you think, well, I don't want to keep doing that for the moment, but I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm going to go right back to it. So the biblical prescription for a better pathway is repentance. If you're engaged in some behavior that's self-destructive or some relational habit that's punishing a family, the reason we're invited to repentance is not to diminish our fun. It gives us a change of thought and a change of behavior that puts on a pathway towards a better outcome. And it's what's been missing in our culture. When the mainstream media screams for 3 years Russian collusion, and it's proven to be completely false, there is no repentance. Nobody comes forward and says, hey, we were thinking the wrong thing and we said the wrong thing. They just move right along. So we try to live through our mistakes. And if you live through your mistakes, you carry the baggage of them. You're like Jacob Marley when he came to visit from the Ghost of Christmas Past. You're dragging all the chains of your sins along with you. And the beauty, the invitation of our faith is that if you will say, I was thinking wrong, and that led me to behave in a wrong way, you can be free. You can have new thoughts and new behaviors and a new future. And I think that's what we're all striving for. We want to see our kids educated in a way that sets them up for the best possible future. We want to see some of the absurd things that have been dominating the public conversation for too long now to be turned back. It's not that we're angry at people. Those pathways don't work. We have to think differently. And it's not arbitrary. It's not just what Alan thinks or Charlie thinks or what we sit down at the desk and hammer out. There's an authority beyond ourselves that we have embraced because we believe there is a God and that he is the creator of heaven and earth. And there's a lot I don't know, but there is some I do know, and I'm going to build my life plan based upon that. And from there, so repentance is such a powerful thing. If we could just say as a nation, we've been uniquely blessed. We've had more freedom and more liberty and more opportunity, and we have squandered it in the most selfish, absurd ways. But we would like to come back and accept the responsibilities of those freedoms and liberties so that the generations who follow us have even greater opportunities than we had. I think we'll see God move in a way that will change not only our communities, our nation, but it'll impact the world again in a positive way.
Is there a sermon or a message that you give, and I'm asking for a reason, where you see repentance that follows? What is the essence that a pastor needs to say or teach to foster a culture of repentance?
Well, I think we have the same challenge in the church that we've had in the political realm. We've had some really bad messages. Mm-hmm. You know, seeing Mr. Trump willing to say the clear truth, the plain truth, is so disruptive because we've lost that ability. And we've got to bring that back into our churches. We've had a gospel of salvation that we've said to people for a long time now, if you'll repeat this sentence after me, you will have accomplished your God business. And perhaps we'll chase that with a dip in a pool, and we'll call it baptism. And then here's your certificate.
Welcome to heaven.
And you're good to go.
It's insurance. It's life insurance.
It is. It's like fire insurance.
Eternal.
Eternal fire insurance.
Oh, I like that's even better. You're right.
And it's really a misrepresentation of the gospel, because being healthy spiritually is like being healthy physically. I make a decision every time I pick up a fork, and I make a decision every day if I'm going to be healthy spiritually. And I think if we come back and say to the people, listen, there is no free ride, but there is a better way to make the journey. And let me show you that. Life creates enough stress points that if you'll talk to people truthfully when there's points and say there's a better way than keep doubling down on stupid, you can make life great again. I mean, that is the gospel message.
Yes.
You know, and it's not about joining my church or where are you at Sunday morning at 11 o'clock.
But allow me to interject. So there's a big pastor, Rick Warren, whatever, and I followed him growing up, and he'll always say, hey, I'm responsible for 130,000 baptisms or whatever. Good for him, right? Great. But is that, therefore, is the church can say we've baptized tens of millions of people. Are you contending, of which I would agree, that it's actually much deeper than that? It's much deeper than just having a bunch of people show up and check the box and then show up once or twice a year.
No, yes. I mean, the short answer is absolutely it's deeper than that.
What does it look like?
I think the analogy would be, Jesus described it as being born again. So there's a new birth. There's a spiritual birth when a person comes to faith. It's the greatest miracle that will ever touch a human life because it changes destiny for you. It moves you from one kingdom to another.
It's in John 3.
It is. But it's a point of initiation, the same way physical birth is. I've been to the hospital to see hundreds of babies that were born. You look through the little glass wall and the little bassinets, and they're red and they're wrinkled. And the grandparents look through and go, they're geniuses. But it would be, we all understand how naive it would be to say, that life has been fully expressed. There's going to take nourishment, care, training, growth, maturity. There's going to be difficulties and challenges and disappointment,
sickness. Yeah.
But everything is in front of that life. It's not a fait accompli.
I love that.
And I think the mistake we've made is we've said to people, if you'll do this, if you'll walk to the front of the church with me and you'll say this prayer, which I believe in conversion, initiation, salvation, the new birth, whichever label is preferred. But that's the beginning point for a journey of growing up spiritually. And we have been reluctant to say that to people because we have this microwave culture that we want everything in a drive-through bag, supersized, and we want to move on to the next thing. And we don't really want God intruding on us. And so I think we've got to have the courage to come back and go, no, this, the ground at the foot of the cross is level and it's free access, but it's not cheap. There's so many things where we've capitulated to the culture. People say to me frequently, Jesus came to bring unity. That's not what he said. He said, I came to bring division.
Turn father against son.
Yeah. And, we've wanted so badly to be accepted by the culture that we've stopped confronting the culture with the truth. It's like a doctor that doesn't want to tell any of his patients bad news. We call that malpractice, and we'll pull your license. And we have been operating as people of faith, and we don't want to say to the culture around us, that's a destructive habit. All of us have weaknesses and failures and struggles. And none of us have a perfect resume, myself included, for certain. But that's why we are stories of redemption. And that's the hope that we hold out to the world, that no matter what broken place you find yourself, it's the ironic part of Mr. Trump.
We'll be right back. First, I want to tell you guys, though, about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is amazing. They've been great supporters of this program. ReliefFactor.com, developed by doctors, Relief Factor is a daily 100% drug-free supplement. Over 1 million people have tried Relief Factor, and nearly 70% go on to order it again. Give Relief Factor a try with their 3-week quick start, only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Try it and see how you could turn back the clock on pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. Relief Factor doesn't simply mask your pain, instead it helps your body eliminate pain for good. Go to ReliefFactor.com, that is ReliefFactor.com. 100% drug-free Relief Factor, that is ReliefFactor.com.
We are stories of redemption, And that's the hope that we hold out to the world, that no matter what broken place you find yourself, it's the ironic part of Mr. Trump. And I don't think there's any question God's using him to make an impact in our nation.
No different than Cyrus.
Or Samson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Samson's my favorite.
In Hebrews.
Samson's my interesting character because he had this crazy strength that nobody could explain.
He's got great hair.
And he had this moral character that maybe you didn't want your kids always to completely duplicate, but God used him in a powerful way to bring freedom to people. And we're watching that, and I'm most grateful for it. You know, I don't have any criticism for that. But so the message to people is it's you know, we're not asking you to submit to a set of rules. We're asking you to choose a way of life that will bring a hope and a vitality to you and your future that you can't find any other way.
So kind of going more to current events here, everything you teach, you always say through a biblical worldview, that the authority is Scripture. And we try to do the same here on this program always. We call them conservative principles, but if you go a layer back, they're biblical principles that express themselves via conservatism.
Right.
And I do that on college campuses, which is
I've watched.
It's a mission field, as you can imagine, right?
We're interrupting this program for a special live report.
We're interrupting your regularly scheduled programming to take you back to Washington, D.C., the U.S. Capitol. This is a luncheon. You can see Speaker Mike Johnson on the Capitol. President Trump is there, as is his Irish counterpart. Let's listen in.
Facts I wanted to share with you this afternoon to have you consider these. Irish men and women have taken up arms among American soldiers. They've made unmatched contributions to music and literature and the arts, and they punch well above their weight in American government. Many Irish nationals played an essential role during the American Revolution. John Barry, for example, was an Irishman who received the first commission issued by the Continental Congress and is considered the father of our American Navy. He later became the first Navy captain to seize a British ship. We had 3 Irishmen who signed our Declaration of Independence: George Taylor, Matthew Thornton, and James Smith. One of the most recognized houses in the world was designed by James Hoban, an Irishman from County Kilkenny, when he designed our White House. And 23 of the 45 men who have served as United States president have Irish heritage, many of them proudly. And same for hundreds of congressmen and senators who have walked these hallowed halls. Today we celebrate their contributions and the truly special relationship among the United States and Ireland and the Irish people. So join me in a toast. Here I am again without a glass. I'm supposed to be toasting. I'm going to grab one. Thank you. A glass of water, no less. It works as well. And the toast is in, hold on, man, I am really messing this up. But we're all friends here. And I don't know where it went. All right, I'm just going to toast. It was a beautiful toast, trust me, it was great. To the United States, to Ireland, to this beautiful relationship, and to all who aspire to be Irish around the world. Cheers. Solange, that's right. That's what I'm supposed to say. I have the pleasure of introducing our own head of state here. This luncheon offers an opportunity for both Americans and the Irish to reflect on our past and on our future. In 1981, Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Daniel Moynihan and Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill started this great tradition, the Congressional Friends of Ireland. They aim to celebrate their shared Irish heritage, deepen ties between our two nations, and promote peace and reconciliation in Northern Ireland. In 1983, the Friends of Ireland luncheon was born when President Ronald Reagan, of course of proud Irish heritage, and the Taoiseach visited Capitol Hill to celebrate Irish heritage and St. Patrick's Day. This lunch was the embodiment of that, of charity and friendship across political differences, and it has led to real-world international diplomatic successes. Many historians credit the advocacy of the Friends of Ireland caucus as essential in the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. And we welcome continued efforts to promote and preserve this agreement and promises of a bright future for the Friends of Ireland. Last year, I hosted this luncheon alongside President Biden. Our political differences were on stark display. It was obvious. That's an understatement. But he was our incumbent Democratic president, and I was the Republican House Speaker. And still, we shared laughs at the table at this event. It was one of the rare moments of the year where we could do that. That's what this celebration is all about. We laid down our swords, and in the spirit of Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, we broke bread together and celebrated what binds us all together rather than what divides us. This year is a little different, of course. The political dynamics on Capitol Hill are extraordinarily different. President Trump is back in the White House. Republicans control both chambers of Congress. Here in our form of government, we call that unified government. A year ago, people thought I was crazy for predicting that we would be here today, but we are. And we're facing a new dawn for America and our bilateral relationships. And I know that we can look forward to working together to promote and preserve our friendships. It's an important, informative time around the world to do that. So in keeping with the proud U.S.-Ireland tradition and the spirit of the Friends of Ireland Luncheon, it's my great privilege to present the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor. I've been here just about every time. We had one that was terminated because of a thing called COVID. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but that was never pleasant. And we would have been together twice, but we had COVID interrupted twice. And I appreciate seeing you again, however. And you've done a fantastic job. We very much appreciate you being here. And I also want to thank my new friends from Northern Ireland for being here, who I just met. Thank you very much. Great honor. And I must say they spoke very well of you. So that's good. That's good. And great to be with you. And thank you to Speaker Johnson, and thank you to all of the members of Congress who are here, quite a few, most of which are Irish, most of whom are Irish. And we welcome Taoiseach, and I love the name because Michal, but it's Michael. I said, how many people call you Michael? It's exactly Michael. I said, he said, about 50%. I said, do you get upset when they do? He said, no, but I'm going to call you Michal because that's the way it is. Martin, who has really been terrific. I've been with him quite a bit. I've spoken to him quite a bit, and we're going to have no problems. And his wife, Mary, we welcome you to America. Fantastic people. And it's really a wonderful annual tradition being here. We're also grateful to be joined by Irish Ambassador to the United States, Geraldine Byrne Nason. Where's Geraldine? Hi, Geraldine. Thank you very much. And the entire Irish delegation. And I know we're a little bit, everybody's a little bit late today, but that's okay because we're celebrating the Irish, and I think it's okay we're a little bit late. I also want to congratulate a friend of mine, Ed Walsh. He's a great golfer. He's a championship golfer, actually. Not quite as good as Rory, but that's okay. But he's right up there. He's won many club championships, and he's one of the best golfers you'll ever see. And congratulations, boy, you're going to have fun over there. He's going to be the ambassador to Ireland. So congratulations, Ed. Well, maybe it is thanks to me, but you're going to have a good time. You're going to represent us well. He can do most of his business on the golf course, too. That's the nice part. He's got the best job of anybody. And I really appreciate so many of my friends being here. So many great friends are here. This afternoon, we're gathered to celebrate the deep and abiding ties of history, family, and friendship that bind together Ireland and the United States of America. The Irish-American patriots have been part of our national history in our country's earliest days. Amazing history they have with our country. Irish Americans fought heroically in our war for independence, served with honor in the crucible of the Civil War.